There, once more, welcome to yet another episode of the You Can Be Anything podcast. I am your host, Solange Che, and today it's again, think about it, it's been a couple of months, right? I took a little sabbatica, and in that time, I've been trying to talk to some people who might be interested to come up on the show to talk about their experiences, to talk to us. Again, remember the goal of this podcast is to inspire and to motivate and also to educate. So during this time out, I was able to reach out to one of Cameroon's finest. And when I say one of Cameroon's finest, I mean every little syllable in that sentence. And in this case, I finally was able to reach out to Jeffrey Epule. Tell me you don't know the name, then you are not part of the Cameroonian entertainment industry. So today on the podcast, we'll be talking to Jeffrey Epule. Jeffrey Epule is an actor. I'm gonna bring him up on screen. And for you listening, this is an amazing young Cameroonian, handsome guy, a lot of swag. I know now understand why he's being put on the movie industry and why people love his movies. Hey, welcome, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. Thank you for being a guest on the You Can Be Anything
Wow. Wow, the amazing Solange. Thanks for having me, Solange. It's you can be anything pretty much defines how I have managed to see myself through my acting journey. It's ideal. It speaks a lot, and I got attracted to the theme and your vision, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being right here. The flowers you threw at me were incredibly amazing. The fanboy, the swag, and all that. I think those were one of the things I had to deal with when I got into acting, because I remember on the first day I got onto a set, I had a colleague who later became a brother,
Yeah.
and he said right up to my face, first day on set, he said, "Who is this one that they've brought here? Who's got these?" Back in the day, I didn't take care of myself much, so I had this protruding stomach. I was a little overweight and all that, and he said, "You know what? We don't need people like you in the industry. All these." And I was like, is this how they're going to judge me? But I decided I'm going to do acting for every other young man who felt less confident about himself and all that. And I promised myself on that day that they're never going to forget the name.
Yeah.
So
And that name has
I
never been forgotten.
hopefully they don't.
Nope,
Well,
that name is
so,
out there. So
so I used that as a stone that was thrown against me to build something. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's
Awesome.
how I've
This
always
is
worked and operated.
upon that. Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Again, you've already given a little bit of background on you and something I like to do. I love for people to talk about themselves. One of the things that I know it's a little bit of a lack in our community is people when people don't give you accolades, you need to give yourself accolades, right? And that is one thing I do a lot. I tap myself on the back and I say, "Hey, Solange, it's been almost 2.5, 3 years since I started this podcast. I've come a long way. I tap myself on the back and I'm like, "Hey, Solange, good job. You're doing well." That is what I want you to talk towards. Please, let's keep modesty a little bit behind. Let's talk. Who would you say Epule Jeffrey is? Again, this is me throwing that question to you of tell me a little bit about yourself. Who can you tell Epule Jeffrey today?
It's a little challenging throwing modesty out the window. Sometimes, I think I've been one of those Cameroonian actors who's been indexed to portray a sense of false modesty. False modesty being being that I it's difficult for me to tout how much I think I seem to have achieved and inspired people. But I think one of the things that made me or demarcated me from a lot of other brands of actors, actresses in an industry that you don't have much is my ability to just not say tout my victories or my achievements, but show them. to younger people. I try as much not to brag about a lot of things, but I'll give you an example where the way I started. I had a baptism of fire when I got into film. I was walking through the streets of Yaounde. I had just come out of university. I went to university not out of, I just wanted to go to university at the time, and I
Yeah.
wanted a degree.
Mm-hmm.
I read law. It was not like I was passionate about it, but I just wanted, my dad wanted me to be, get an education.
Yeah.
So I read law. So when I got my licence en droit public, I was still the very, very hot young man. And I think a certain Neba Lawrence saw me somewhere, and he called me director and said, "You know what? I like the way you are. I want you to feature in a movie."
Yeah.
So basically, that's how I got called on the movie. But little did I know that that movie would feature Emeka Ike at the time and Tonto Dike.
Yeah.
So I went onto that set, and that was literally when in the years 2010, when they were at the peak of their careers, they were mighty. Those were the people we saw on TV.
Yep.
They were
I remember.
superstars.
Yes.
So I caught a fright. I was literally sweating. Not literally, I was sweating. But but all of those experiences are the things that made me, that just inspired me. I like to look at people and just become inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'd ask myself, if this person can do it, why can't I do it?
Here we go.
Or if they say I cannot do it, why can't I do it?
Yeah. What is
So
holding you?
basically, that has
Mhm.
been, yeah, that has been how I've operated through time. It's never been about, showing I'm doing this to impress anybody or all that. My biggest breakthrough, I think, came sometime around 2016, 2017, when I got a call to feature in a movie that eventually got um, premiered in one of the biggest cinemas in the UK, the Odeon IMAX. And coincidentally, I had just done another movie in Nollywood that was premiered 3 weeks after the movie I did in Cameroon. So I had two movies premiering in the same very big hall in the UK, back
Yeah.
to back. And all of those events were jam packed because the London Cameroonian community and the Nigerian community, at the time, you couldn't demarcate whether I was Nigerian
Oh, Cameroon. Yeah.
or Cameroonian. So there was a turn up. There was a turn
Mhm.
up. Those were the biggest breakthroughs in my life. I eventually
Mhm.
got to do a movie in the UK, Bushfaller, which is
Mhm.
on Amazon, which is showing on Amazon Prime. For those who have Amazon accounts, you can watch that, Bush. The movie's name is Bush. So little things like that, going to Nollywood. I've done 4 movies in Nollywood. I've done about, say, 70 Cameroonian movies, both released and unreleased. I'd say about 40 of them released, or 50 of them. So those to me are achievements that I could tout. But I look at it more like, those are things that could inspire other people.
Yeah.
Today, when young people write me and say, "I want to be an actor like you," I watch your movies and I loved it. That's my victory.
Yeah.
It's not easy, especially a male Cameroonian actor, to keep up with a certain lifestyle that the social media has presented us with. You have to be flashy, or do all those things, to catch up the brand and all that.
Yeah.
But like I said, the only thing that would probably make you branded, to me, is just being good.
I
If
agree.
Etofis is known and popular today, it's simply because he was a ferocious footballer.
Yep.
Whenever he got into the field, he made sure he scored a marvelous goal, or he will help his teammates coordinate a good game.
Yep.
And that's the kind of actor I've always wanted to be. When a producer or a director calls me, I make sure that the project is really good. It's not just about me and all that. My way of looking at things is about inspiring people. It's
Mhm.
not about getting the gratification of being at the forefront. I
So you
think I
still
think that
succeeded
pretty
in
much
not
sums
give.
me up.
You did not give those accolades. You still put in that modesty again. A lot of you do this, but again, I respect your decision to do that. And you've said a lot of things that again I was hoping we'll get to. And that just shows again, you know what I'm out here for. You know what the people need to know. But again, I want to pull you back a little bit. Talk about
Okay.
Jeffrey. Like, let's talk Jeffrey. Who are you?
Okay.
If somebody, yeah, you became an actor, you're an actor. How would you tell someone who doesn't know you as an actor to be like, let's talk Jeffrey? Jeffrey is. I like that question
Oh,
a
Jeff,
lot because it's challenging.
I know, I know. When I listen to the question, it's a little. It's that kind of question that I don't. Let me not explain the question. Let me try to answer the question.
Go ahead, Jeff. Do you?
So Jeffrey is Jeffrey has been a lot of things. First of all, and I'm still a work in progress because I think Jeffrey has been somebody that has evolved through time, has been able to learn. I started pretty much off when I was a young man. I used to love music a lot, so I danced, I sang. I did two records with a certain Dr. Slee.
Mhm.
I
I want
used
to
to
listen to
sing,
those.
and then I remember at a certain point in my life when I used to dance when I was very young, I'd win a lot of awards and things like that. So I think I got exposed to stagecraft
Yeah.
at a principally very young stage in my life. I think that eventually just emboldened me and got me ready for the camera because I lost the ability to be scared
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago. I killed that fear. So when I left the dancing thing, I got inspired by another big brother, Bea Bruce, who did not only see a dancer in me because at the time we had something in Buea called the Business Forum, organized by the head of state at the time, and then there was some dancing competition. And during the dancing, I presented something, and Bea said, "You know what? I think you can do a bit of emceeing too." Growing up, Bea used to be my neighbor, so
Yeah.
the curious Jeffrey, who I am, jumped into a bit of emceeing and hosting. And later on, when I finished school, one of the things I really wanted to do very badly because I was so I wanted to you know when you're young as a young man you want to be the man.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea was okay, school was I'm done with this. I want to fall bush. I had that crazy bush follow dream.
Yep.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I got caught by the movie ball, by the story I told you about Neba Lawrence. And
Yeah.
after that, I think Elvis stand with the daddies. They caught me, they put me into film, and I fell in love with movies.
Yeah.
I fell in love with acting. Epule Jeffrey started. I did not just want to make a name. I wanted to understand the craft. I wanted to be different. I became hungry. So with
Mm-hmm.
every project that came my way, I used it to learn. I had a bit of luck and I had a bit of preparation when I met Jim Ike,
Yeah.
who taught me a lot as literally mentored me into the deeper aspects of acting and characterization. That is when I think like the real actor in me started really coming out. But then I had a problem. I had to face the challenge of people calling me Jim Ike, and um, and I really wanted to just be a Pule Jeffrey.
Our Cameroonian Jim Ike. I think I've heard that.
Yeah, I had to work hard to try to demarcate myself from that. But the more I tried, it didn't just work. So I had to deal with it. And later through the years, because of the stress of acting, the demands of staying relevant, and a lot of personal issues,
Mm-hmm.
I was diagnosed with a cardiovascular problem in 2016, which radically changed my life. A lot of people do not know, but that I've been dealing with that for about 7 years now. So I had to change the frequency of how I appeared on the screen, the kind of movies I took, how long I could work. My social life was really changed, but I had to do what I love. So I think that aspect of me actually radically changed how I began to see life. I began to understand that, life is fleeting
Yep.
and everything counts. And I think that really impacted me as an actor because words to me no longer just became words. If I had to tell you I love you, it actually meant I did.
Mm.
And how do you, as an actor who has to play a lot of movies, probably you have to tell people I love you and you really mean words. So I think that affected me in a way that I began to understand that I could go deep. And as it was a curse, it was a blessing. So you'd give me a script and you want me to do a character, and I'll be able to really pull it out because I wasn't playing it for the moment.
Yeah.
I was playing it as if I was in it, like I lived in it. To me, life had an expiration date, and I wanted to give it everything. That really changed me through the years, and without boring people, I think pretty much that sums Epule Jeffrey.
Yeah, that's good. Again, you went into the things I was expecting to hear from you. Again, I was going to trigger the questions, but again, I wanted those answers to come naturally. And one of those things, again, it was just to reiterate the fact that, hey, you have a bachelor's degree in public law, right? And when I looked at that, again, I read your profile that was made by, I think, Next Dim Empire. When I Googled you, one of their posts about you did come up, and I looked at
Okay.
that, and they did mention, yeah, you had a bachelor's degree in law, and you've just already explained to us how, to you, it was more about having a degree, not necessarily becoming a lawyer, right? And you found your passion
Yeah,
in acting,
yeah,
which you stated. Another thing that it did make mention of
yeah,
is your influence, or your having Mr. Buea as your mentor
yeah,
or something. At some point you were inspired by him. He's somebody that I
yeah.
followed on social media space. I do. He has some incredible ideas. Again, the way he talks is one person that calls it as it is. So I do listen
Yeah,
to some of his videos. Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm happy you brought all of those things up. And we've talked about the movies and how far you went into how the movies you've done in Cameroon and the movies you've done in Nigeria. I looked at your list of movies. It shows you started acting at about 2010, and you've acted in
yeah.
quite a few movies, right? I wanted to talk to us a little bit. Again, you're an actor. Actors have their aha movies. They have the movies that are just like that, right?
Yeah.
Those are the only two. I hope that you have those two in mind. Like your most, like the most beautiful movie, the one that, hey, if I wake you up from sleep and I'm like, hey, Jeff, what do you think is the movie that you featured in that is your sample song? What movie would that be and why?
Wow. So large. You sure know how to bring to get those questions. The thing is, yeah. Let me tell you, and I think I tried to mention it
Mhm.
from a certain point in my career. I really started believing. So the way I approach movie from a certain point, maybe say from 2015 to 2015 downwards,
Mhm.
is different from how I started approaching movies from 2016 upwards.
Upwards. Okay.
Because there was something that radically changed in me. So I'd like to say my favorite movies are from a certain period
Mm-hmm.
when I grew much more mature and I understood. I was no longer just excited about featuring in Cameroonian movies. To
Mm-hmm.
me, themes were important, the message were important. So I'd say from like 2016 upwards, those were my like the days when I became much more conscious.
Yeah.
My favorite movie from that point is difficult to say.
I know. Just try one. I know there's a few, right? But let's just pick one. Again, not discrimination meant, not discrimination intended, but just what comes to your mind at this point.
Wow, Samba,
Okay. What was your role in that
Samba,
movie? What did you do?
Samba. In the series, it's a TV series.
Is it TV series? Okay.
So in the TV series Samba, I'm more like a guy who, the son of a rich family. The mother is a counselor. She cancels couples, same like the father. But the couple have the ill luck of having a son who is contrary to everything that they are teaching. He's of the
Okay.
he's of the La Vida Loca kind of guy.
Yes.
Thinks till he has to get to that moment where he meets up with the reality of life.
Mm-hmm.
He gets into a situation where he feels like he's got infected by HIV,
Mm-hmm.
and when he comes out of that, he feels like it was God speaking to him and saved him. So he has to radically change and do his mea culpa to almost 10 ladies.
Yep.
So the character to me is a strong message. Was a strong message to every action has consequences, and you must bear responsibility for your actions. So I
Yep.
think the character in that movie, Samba, was because I had to shoot it for close to a year. So I stayed in that guy. Relatively, I became him. That to me is one of my most exciting, if not the most exciting character I've ever played.
Let me
Now to
segue from that. I don't want you to go away
yes,
from that. I want to segue a little
yeah,
bit from that because one of the
yeah,
things I wanted you to, again, I would love to hear from you is when you become these personalities, right? When you, again, this is a series, this was a really long one for almost a year. Do you
yeah,
find it that it's possible that the character that you are in a movie does influence you as a person, as Jeffrey? How often,
yes.
like how intense does it need to get for it to impact you as a person? These movies come with a lot of personalities, a lot of lessons. Again, I think one of the goals in every movie is that they should be able to throw out a lesson. There is something, right? There is a goal in every script that a writer puts out there, right? And you have to act these things out. How often or how intense does it need to be for that to actually influence your person as Jeffrey?
So
Mm-hmm.
I explained to you how understanding a character might affect you or
Yeah.
you affect the character.
Mm-hmm.
So some actors, when they get to the point where they begin to understand, and words no longer just mean words.
Mm-hmm.
Words are real. Feelings are. It is easy to convey those emotions. It is easy to carry them. It is tricky because you get affected. You're leaving a character for close to a year. There is no way in the world that this guy is not gonna affect you.
Yeah.
It did affect me on personal notes. Sometimes it affected me in a way that it affected me in my relationship because my baby mama was one of the characters in the movie.
Oh,
Till today, there are some things I say.
yeah.
I should say Stefan. That was the character's name.
Stefan.
She'll be
Okay.
like Stefan. She'll be like Stefan. This is not the movie script. And I initially I thought she was joking. So she doesn't want me to use words. One of the reasons why I'm no longer with her today is because she thinks like my words are from the script.
As scripted.
Because
Yeah.
yes, so
Okay.
I say them and I mean them, but she just feels like,
You're acting.
guy, you're an incredibly good actor, Massa. Leave that team, Massa.
That is,
I said
we are
no.
laughing about it, but that is not really cool.
I said, babe, you know what? I love you. And she's gonna be like,
Is that Stefan talking or is that Jeffrey talking?
so yeah. I initially thought it was a joke. Then it got serious, and when
Oh,
I got serious about it, yeah. We couldn't stay together. Unfortunately, we're broken up, and I was tired of trying to prove myself. That is how bad acting has. That's how bad you go. So these things are real. You get to a point where, and that's why you see, they'll tell you sometimes that I have a false modesty.
mhm.
Because I'll be frank with you and I'll tell you, you know what? I read your script. It's something really not connecting with it. Like I can attach myself to it. It's one of those other things. It's one of those. You can blame Cameroonians for not wanting to watch our movies because if they feel it, they know it. They know when you're reciting. They know when it's bad. They know when it's poorly done.
Yep.
Come on, give this guy some credit. At least give Cameroonians quality movies and they'll love it.
Yep.
So at some point, yeah, I think one of the things that really just, it affects you in a way is when you get to a point where you want more,
Yeah.
and these producers are not ready to give you more, and you get to that point, and it's difficult as a man, honestly, in Cameroon to produce your own movies. You don't have that money.
Yep. It's
That's why you
expensive.
see much more of these act the stars, females, getting more into productions because they really want to tell their stories. They believe they can act it, they can show it, and they can easily get the money to put these movies out there.
Yep.
Or like a guy like me, you have to be like Cankwitus, go out, work hard, make a lot of money, and come and tell your story. So it's challenging for the Cameroonian actor per se to give out quality because of the means and how the industry has been structured and all of that. Your question is highly intertwined with a lot of things. It's
Yep.
not. It's something that hopefully we will walk across. It will take time, but quality demands work.
Yep.
Not
Of course.
quality demands work, and these things totally affect how we produce films and how we see them and all that. So
Yep.
well, we might need another show to discuss this.
Right. No, I definitely, I love the way you responded to that. That's actually what I was looking for because just a few days ago, I was talking about split personalities, right? How tough it can be to separate those two when you are a performer and you have to be yourself and still be another character. So I'm happy you did explain that. And again, on the other
Yeah.
side, we wanted to talk about, again, just because I like to do things on both sides. Yes, that was your um you call it samba, right? That was your aha
Yeah,
movie.
Samba.
What about one that you just needed to get do it and get out of it? Again, maybe I shouldn't
A
maybe
lot.
it has not been published yet, but tell me.
No, there's one that got published, another TV series.
Okay.
So when this producer met me, he told me, you know what, TV series have very long, big, voluminous scripts.
Yep.
They are not like feature movies where okay, 90 pages, you're gone through, you can read your character and assess it.
Mm-hmm.
So he came, he gave me part of the script. It was really voluminous and said, you know what, you're one of my leads. I'd love you to play this character. So I went through it, and it was look since it was voluminous at the time, I couldn't catch exactly what he wanted of me in the script.
Mm-hmm.
But he promised me it was the lead character, it was a good character for me. See, movie production and acting is a learning process. It's a learning
Yeah.
curve. You must be willing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through the script and I realized that 4 months into the filming of the film, it wasn't what I wanted. Because first of all, the pay wasn't too good. And to me, the currency of an actor is what you do in a movie. It's not
Yeah.
about you being paid millions. It's about when people watch this movie and they're able to relate to the character and say, you know what, I love this guy in this movie, or I hated this guy. So when I did 4 months of the film, 5 months into the movie, and I realized that this was not what I wanted and it wasn't representing, I felt like I was a prisoner. I felt trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to do this production for 1.5 years.
Wow.
I couldn't wait for it to end. Yes, so we fell out when I expressed my worries in a when I expressed my worries to the director, producer, he felt rather insulted
Oh.
than trying to see the problem. So you have things like that, yeah. You have movies. I don't want to call the
Yeah, you
producer
don't need
or the
to.
movie's name, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it's right there for people to see, and time always proves people right. If when you watch the series, you realize that you ask, what was Epule Jeffrey doing here?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
again, talking about it, and that just shows this like not everything in life is goes perfectly, right? There's going to be those movies and those times that things are not as expected, and that is a mindset that again I always like to encourage people to have. Yeah, look for the great things, but when it comes to an instance where something is not as you expected, you need to be able to train your mind to go through it
yeah,
as well. So
yeah.
yes, that is we've talked to Puller Jeffrey for the past 30 minutes, right? That is good. I'm
Oh yeah,
happy with that. There's definitely more about you. And again, the way I do, I'm very, very ready for a second session. But I'm not going to go away with this. I need us to switch gears a little bit. Let's get into our
please,
PNEU, right? Let's get into our Cameroonian entertainment
please.
industry. Again, I have listened to you talk about it. I understand. I kind of know where you stand, but this is me. This is my opportunity to trigger your mind a little bit and get your own point of view, right? I'm going to call it implied strife because, again, we've heard people say that, hey, there is this strife within the Cameroonian movie industry. Some people say there is none. And that's why I call it an implied strife. I don't have any proof whether there is or not. But you, as an actor, as part of this entertainment, the movie industry in Cameroon, what do you think about this implied strife? And what do you think, if there is, what could be causing it, or why are people suspecting that things are not great in our movie industry?
There is a division in the entertainment industry.
Hmm.
There is a division in every industry, be it in the sphere of lawyers, teachers, but we cannot deny how serious it is in the entertainment industry because it has the spotlight.
Yeah,
The entertainment industry is on the spotlight. I'll speak from the industry I come from, where that is the movie industry.
the movie. Mm-hmm.
Our division started much more as competition. It started much more as competition, and it was unhealthy because when we developed this rave for trying to get our own home movies, everybody thought every other person producing a movie, if you're not on that set, it doesn't make sense.
Oh.
So it was a kind of competition initially,
Mm-hmm.
and then it became unhealthy because we were not guided. The competition was not guided by love or a bit to show solidarity, like, okay, even though we are opposing, we might be of opposing things, but we're playing for the same nation.
Yeah.
So it was more like, okay, they've done theirs, they didn't call me, mine will be better. That's how we started. And then in every competition, they are front runners of a competition. They are captains of a team and
Yep.
all that. The
Definitely.
captains needed to, yeah, the captains needed to stand out. So when a team started the competition, those who led the rivalry, be it unhealthy or healthy, the
Mm-hmm.
captains needed to demarcate themselves. And it is via this demarcation, especially on social media, who did what better, who appeared best, who dressed better, who did this, that. That caught the attention of the competition. It was no longer whose movie was good, how well you acted, or no, people did not bother about those things anymore. The audience, since as we couldn't show them the movies, they wanted us to show them what we had.
Yep.
So that's how the division started. You cannot deny that there are no challenges in the industry. That's a lie.
Yep.
There are fights, ferocious fights. The thing is, all of them fight for the same thing. All of them are fighting for the same. I'd not want to go into details, but what I tell you is, um, as time has gone, I think it has become much more healthier.
Mm-hmm.
The fights are no longer toxic. When the fights were really bad, I tell you, was between, let's say, 4 years ago, when we hadn't understood that we were playing for the same team.
Yeah.
Before then, in the movie industry, everybody wanted to be the leader. Everybody wanted to be the number one. So that was the problem. But now I think we've grown mature. You'd see that the bigger ones are less vocal. They approach problems with much more,
Maturity.
much,
Mhm.
they would, when there's a problem, they would reflect on it before. If there was a problem, person A would just come to social media, but drop a bomb. Person B would take a photo shoot in Paris, Cold War, and all that. But now it's got better. People are getting mature, and I think with time it will only get better. Why
Yeah.
platforms like yours are important? Because people now have the opportunity. Everybody now doesn't feel, nobody feels left out.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing something in my corner, I could come and say, you know what, Auntie So, I want to talk about my story. And I feel like people are going to listen to me, and I no longer feel like, okay, I'm doing that bad, you know.
That's
So it
fine.
is good to encourage platforms like this for people to feel validated, because there's a need for people to feel validated.
Of course. I agree.
Before it was just a few old people when they do this, Epule Jeffrey, oh, hey, now you be number one. How do you justify I was number one Cameroon actor? What movie did you watch? You know. So other people, other actors will be like, why are they saying he's number one? I never watched my own movie. You
Mm-hmm.
get, but I think the more the conversations are opening, the more the things are broadening. We no longer have that bad blood. Everybody feels like, okay, I can go there and blow my trumpet. You know,
Yep.
there's vanity in every entertainer. And when you feel that vanity, when all of them feel like, all of us are children, when we feel like we've cried and we're heard, our tantrums go down. So the tantrums are getting better.
Yes, that is good. Again, that's why I do what I do. I want to have the opportunity to talk to you people who sometimes feel like you're unreachable, right? Like
Please,
you
please,
see.
please,
So,
please do this often. Do this often. Reach out. There are a lot of Cameroonian actors,
oh,
actresses who want their stories. And I tell you, it heals.
yeah,
It heals a lot of people because they feel like, okay, why am I sacrificing this much and nobody's giving me credit?
yeah,
You know, a system or a structure that gives credit valorizes people.
yeah,
So if you talk to a couple of actors, what you're trying to do already is you're trying to make them heard, and
yep,
they feel good about it. And once you start feeling good about yourself, you become less problematic.
yep. I agree. I would not
Yeah,
agree any less. That is true because again, in the course of talking about this, I know the second part of this, what I wanted to talk about is how we can remedy the situation. I love that you can already see the difference. You can already see that things are getting better if we have to go back like 4 years from
yeah,
now, right? And again, just as you mentioned, it's like giving having each and everyone have a platform where they can talk about themselves. When we started this, I told you about the importance of giving yourself accolades because I personally feel like that gives me the urge to continue doing what I'm doing. Right. When I talk to someone like you and you're like, oh, Solange, I checked out your platform and this is amazing, man. I have a job, right? I work, but this is my part-time thing that I do. Just seeing that
yeah,
somebody put some value on it encourages me to give up my weekends or to take a break from work like I have done now. And instead of taking my 1 hour break to go eat and do something, I decide to talk to you. You get it? So I believe what you say. I know what it does to me. Who is not even a public figure, then I can imagine what it does to our actors and actresses, right? If they are able to talk about themselves, if they're able to have a platform where they can like just speak out, right? And I hope that more platforms, again, I'm one of them, there's a couple of them out there, that we can actually listen, give an opportunity for our entertainers, for our actors, our actresses, our musicians, to just talk, our artists in general, right, to express themselves. So I'm looking forward to a good one. After talking to you, I know that this is a good sign. So, so
yeah.
I
Definitely,
appreciate I appreciate this a lot, and thank you so much for sharing
definitely.
that. We have spoken about that strife, that implied strife, which you just confirmed yeah, that yes, there is. Another thing that I wanted us to talk about, which when I sit down personally, I think it is good, is this whole 80-20 thing, right? When I look at it, when I think about it without listening to everybody, like, hey, just from my own background, from my own cultural awareness, I definitely love to consume more of Cameroon than I can consume others. I'm not saying I want to consume exclusive Cameroon. No, I want to be able to consume. By consuming Cameroon, I'm supporting my country. That is my level of nationalism. You get it? But
Yeah,
then I know that there's some level of you have an opinion on this, and that's what I definitely want you to help talk a little bit about it. It has been in the entertainment, the 80-20 campaign has been our entertainment spotlight like for a while now. And we've had people come on social media and say different kinds of things, give their own different kinds of opinions. What do you think we can do better to make this campaign more appealing and credible to those Cameroonians who still find themselves in that gray area? How can we make this campaign a credible campaign which we can now, because some people need credibility in order to jump onto the bandwagon, right? What do you think we can do?
I cannot talk about the 80/20 without spelling out what it is
Yeah,
in its globality.
there we go.
The 80/20 is a movement that has become, it's like intercourse.
Hey, unfortunately, Jeffrey is not able to join us back on the call. He had a power outage and for some reason he lost connection, which means we will not be able to continue on this same episode. But this is just to let you know that there is going to be a part two with my chat. There's going to be a part. So, just a little update. Unfortunately, Jeffrey will not be able to join us again on this same episode because he had a power outage and so he lost connection. However, we're going to have a part two of my chat with Jeffrey so that we can continue talking about all the interesting things we're talking about. So, again, if you're listening to this episode, this is part one, my chat with Jeffrey. Part two will be coming up where we'll delve more into the 80/20 campaign in Cameroon and some other aspects or some other things that we're going to talk about. I hope you do enjoy this episode with Jeffrey. I hope that you learn some lessons from him. Again, to all those you young Cameroonians or young people who are looking forward in pursuing a career in the acting industry, this is someone that you can look up to. Yes, he does mentor quite a few people and he does throw out his nuggets out there, something that will guide you. Remember, the goal of this podcast is for him to share his story with the hope that the story will inspire you. So you know you're not alone. If Jeffrey could make it, again, if you work hard and you put in the effort in becoming one like named actor like him, of course you'll be able to make it as well. So I want to thank you all for listening to this episode. Jeffrey, I do thank you for this first part. Part two is coming, and we're looking for more and more amazing content. Thanks again, and have a beautiful day. And again, as your girl Soso Babes always says, remember to be good to each other.